Alright, man, how y'all doing today? We're back at it again on Mic'd Up. I have my two guests. We're going to kind of piggyback today off of what we spoke on the last episode, which was the emotions of a man. But we're kind of going now with as so far as how do we control our emotions as a man? Is it necessary? Time and place, when and where? Today we have my first cousin. We was raised together, named Derrick Jude Jackson. And I have my homeboy I grew up with, same neighborhood, Kennedy Heights, from Gonzales, Louisiana, Derrick Coco.
Hey.
So, fellas, just kind of, I'm going to ask you, Derrick, cousin, what you think, is it necessary to, for us as men to control our emotions, or what you think about that?
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer that when it comes down to emotions, command of the emotions is probably one of the best tool sets a man can have. Yes, you do have to control them and know when to leverage them to your advantage. So, when we talk about what it is to be a man, being able to convey those emotions in a consistent format, is one of the attributes. One of the last things that you want is to be known as a person that's unstable, right? So a lot of times, that instability comes from people labeling you because you can't control those emotions.
Right.
So whether it be happiness, anger, sadness, the full range of them, I do believe that holding your emotions in check is one of the key attributes of being a man.
What you think, Derrick?
I want to tiptoe in it because I think controlling emotions is something that our generation was taught. We was taught not to cry, just to be tough, and just fight through it and don't show. Did it have an effect on us? Is that a problem when we hold in emotions and all of a sudden it's like filling the gas tank? It's going to overfill at a point in time. So where do we let those emotions go? Where do we release them? So I think it comes a time to where we have to express ourselves, express our emotions. It's okay to cry. I mean, we're in a new generation now. I think a lot of people in my generation, a lot was kind of, we grew up in the 80s and the 90s where we kind of was hidden from the facts of racism and all of this stuff. And we just was taught to be tough. And I think it's like a ball and pipe. So it's a loaded question, but to me, I think that controlling it is good at times, but where do we express our emotions and when do we express our emotions?
Okay. To kind of piggyback on here, this is only my opinion. I think there is and like you said, when and where. You have to think about, what is going to affect if I let out these emotions at this point in time. For example, somebody might come at you wrong or whatever the case may be on your work, at your job. That is a time and point, I think, in my opinion, where you have to try your best to control your emotions. Because maybe the outcome of you not controlling your emotions may not affect just you, but your family, things you have to take care of because, of course, sometimes when we get out of whack or something of that nature at work, there's consequences. So it's like when you say controlling them, I don't want people to get that misconception that is saying that you can't let them out, but it's just when in the proper place and proper time. Because who's going to tell you, you have a friend or somebody, a loved one, go away? No, you can't cry. To me, that part of it, you can express that emotion anytime because that's whether you're at work or whatever. But it just depends on the scenario, what emotion that you're talking about. It has a whole lot of ties into what, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, because I'm piggybacking off of, I had one of my subscribers, man, I can't remember his name. Matter of fact, I'm going to look it up eventually to check it out. He kind of was like, man, the traits that we carry, how could you control your emotions? They were speaking, they left comments like, how could you can't just hold it in. And he said, we're not built that way. We're built to express our emotions, But the thing is, though, and I understand everything that he was saying. I respect that and I understand. But at times, you gotta sometimes pause and think a little bit before you let those emotions out. Because I don't want people to just think emotions is just crying.
Right.
It is. You could be angry and just, what I'm saying? It's different things that when I say emotions, like you said, that's very, very broad.
Right.
So.
And I want to make sure that that's clear too, because we use the word control, and you just want to be sure that we're not saying suppress.
Right.
So when I say control, I mean command. So command of your emotions is different than suppression of your emotions. There's a book called the 48 Laws of Power, and one of the key components of that is power is a whole other ambiguous term, but one of the key components of the 48 Laws of Power is having command over your emotions. They use an analogy inside of that book. Basically, the centuries ago, in the 1800s, 1700s, 1600s, when there were courts, and kings and that type of thing. The game that's played at that level, everyone in the court was seeking power. But if you were to be outright ugly or demeaning to another person on the court, you would lose power. You would lose the backing of those people. And so the term, iron fist in a velvet glove, came out. And that's again alluding to the fact of you can have an iron fist, but you deploy that fist with a velvet glove. So that is command of the emotion. So back in those days, if somebody was going to backstab you, they didn't backstab you, in public and demean you. They did it with a smile.
Yeah.
And so, which again, in the power game, that's having control and being ahead of the game, at that point. So when I say, control of emotions, I mean command of them.
Right.
And so, and it's not just anger, bitterness or sadness. I can give you a personal example of, command and control of emotions. I remember, I guess one of the key things that happened in my life was burying my dog, my first dog, and you go back to medieval times, that was a punishment, it was like one of the worst things they could do is you got to give up your firstborn, and so to do that and to lose my dog, man, I was sad, man, I was mad, I was everything, and
You know, and I did. I let a lot of emotions out during that time period. But one of the things that I did was, you know, I poured myself into the things I was interested in. You know, I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of, you know, reflecting and studying upon the things that I was doing in my career. And a lot of times people think, you know, and they'll ask me straight up, man, how do you know all this stuff? Man, you know, you can, you know, produce shows, you can, you know, write code and, you know, all this other, man, how did you learn all that? And the thing was, I was channeling. I was channeling all that hurt, all that energy, and all that energy
towards something else,
to get my mind off of it. That would be positive,
right.
You know. And so, you know, that's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
You know, the easier thing to do would just be to lash out or shut off. You know, and it was just one of those things where, you know, I had to grow as a person to be able to do that. But you know, it's funny because when people ask me that, man, normally my response is I just laugh because they wouldn't understand. They would not understand how, you know, how I was able to do that. You know, and the level of focus it took to get there.
Right.
I probably couldn't have done it on my own.
Right.
You know, so yeah, man. You know, it's amazing, man. You know, what, you know, a concept of being able to have command of those emotions can do.
Right.
So, do you think you would have developed the skills that you have now without burying your firstborn, or you think that sometimes everything that happened was supposed to happen for a reason and you tapped into something greater? I believe you spiritual beings, and sometimes things tap into us and we tap into it. You know, she can be living through you, or would you have discovered your gifts without that tragic accident?
You know,
That's a great question too.
yeah. I mean, would I be as efficient? Probably not. You know, because I would have had a different focus, right? You know, but that's a hard reconciliation to make.
Right.
You know, to say that, you know, I had to give up something so great
Right.
to gain something else.
Right.
You know, and you know, if I had my preference, I would rather my child, right?
Right.
You know, I would never select, you know, money or status or anything else over that.
Right.
You know, but would my gifts have manifested? Probably so, but to the degree that they did, and
Probably not as fast.
yes, to, you know, to where I am today, probably not as fast. It would build slowly, you know, and that's the other, you know, that's the other piece of that, man. You know, a lot of times that's the first thing people, you know, gravitate to when you say emotions. It's either going to be the big three: happiness, sadness, you know, or anger. You know, but there's a ton of them in between.
Right.
You know, and you know, man, hurt is an emotion.
Yes.
You know, and understanding those levels in between is key. You know, because that's the tool that you can use. You know, anger is normally the byproduct of hurt.
Right.
You know, and sadness as well. So it's usually the byproduct of hurt. You know, but when you say emotions, everybody branches off into these others, and not see the things that are in between.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's a loaded topic.
Well, you know, and it's funny that you know you speak on that, man. Because like the in between, to be honest with you, and it's kind of a teeter-totter between emotions and feelings. You know, sometimes you can actually get around different people and have different feelings. You know what I mean? They can bring on different, just like, you know, on the last episode we were speaking on your environment. You know what I'm saying? it can jumpstart an actual feeling. Like opposed to you around a negative crowd, opposed to you with your guys you grew up with. It can jumpstart something. It can either be positive or negative.
Right.
So I'm like, a lot of times I think, too, what y'all think the difference between feelings and emotions? Or is there a difference?
I'm gonna say this. We talk about the environment setting, being a catalyst,
Right.
for driving that emotion. And within that environment, and it could be several things, but let's talk about just people first, because the environment could very well just be something static, like a house,
Right.
But let's talk about people for a second. Yeah, the people in the environment can be a catalyst towards the emotions that manifest. And I guess I want to take the conversation up one notch, and just say, what does it take for you to be that catalyst? There's the term is command of the room, right? There's sometimes you enter a room with 4 people, there's going to be one person that can drive that room.
Right.
That one person is the person that is has the most control over the feelings and the emotions. Because you naturally gravitate towards that.
Right.
It's an instinct.
Right.
Just like alpha males,
Right.
wolves. They're gonna follow.
It's almost like that person setting the narrative.
They set.
They set the tone, and kind of like now whether that's negative, positive, that depends. You know what I'm saying?
And I think we done all done it, man.
Right,
I didn't went in the room and started trouble. You know what I'm saying? I done brought trouble to it. And I've also brought life to it. And I'm sitting here looking at Derrick right now, man. And I remember, when we were growing up, we come, we didn't live in Kenny, we come through, and bruh, there was a select few people in the neighborhood that you always knew what you were gonna get when you got with them. Derrick was one of them people.
Right.
Derrick was one of them people, man. We used to go there and kick it. You knew it was gonna be kind of a chill, mellow thing.
Right. That's how Derrick still is.
He's still that way. And when he walked through the door tonight, I still felt that same way.
Right.
When he walked through the door, just seeing. I ain't seen Derrick in a while.
Time, yeah.
And so so it's just one of the things where I think my question would be, what does it take to become that person that can control that room?
I think that sometimes I'm gonna speak about, let's say, work environment. I'm gonna kind of involve politics because everybody has different views, and the topic it comes up. You have people that support a different president than you support, and their beliefs are different from your beliefs. So, do you go in attack mode when they say something, or do you discover that, okay, we can talk about each other's unconscious bodies? And I can have that conversation. It's like they gravitate, and they may say some things I don't agree with, but that's okay, because I say some things that they don't agree with.
Right.
But we gotta express each other's feeling and understand. Sometimes everybody's not going to discover their unconscious bias, and I just sometimes I can understand how people feel a certain way sometimes. But and I think when you be the catalyst for the room, you have to be okay with other people's opinions. You have to be okay to be able to talk about this certain topic without getting angry.
And know something too, especially if you're that person that's that catalyst, you have to really, really pay attention to your environment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you that type of person, like you said, the alpha male, that leader, that kind of the one that starts off that conversation, you have to really, really, especially at work.
Right.
You know what I mean? Joe Blow or this and that, you have to know the difference in his attitude and the way he is, his attitude or the way that other person is. Before, especially, you know, like you said, getting into politics. Me personally, I try not to do that at work because me as a person, I would be able to, you know, agree or disagree. Right. But I know sometimes that can go so far left. Oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, you may say, man, I'm cool. But once that the ball gets rolling, you know, so you got to be very, very careful, depending upon, like I said, where you at, you know, with that. But I agree with you when you say, man, look, you know, if you're going to be that catalyst of that conversation, to maybe, and it may create an emotion from somebody, but you have to be strong enough to agree to disagree.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And respect people's opinion. Because, you know, I don't want to get too far off the subject, but, you know, a lot of people don't realize, you know, how much alike there are like you. You know what I'm saying? Until you start having these conversations and open dialogue and, you know, digging into why you like this or why you like that. A lot of times, man, you know, dealing, you know, this state of mind, the way it is today, a lot of ways that people are because they're taught.
Right. That's what,
you know what I'm saying?
So what I found, you know, throughout my career has been, most of the time the motivations are the same. The means and methods are different. But the motivations are always the same. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, you know, people go out, they establish a career, they go get jobs, you know, to feed their family, feed themselves, and to have, you know, that sense of self-worth, mm-hmm. right? You know, and I think that's true for anybody out in the workplace. You know, so the motivation, you know, for all of us here is the same. You know, but the means are different. You know, my approach to, you know, how I architect my career and surround myself could be different from yours, could be different from yours. You know, and that's really kind of, you know, where the common ground is. You know, what is, you know, identify the motivations. And if we have the same motivations, we could disagree on means and methods.
Right.
You know, and at the end of the day, you know, that's simply all it is. You know, but I guess going back to the concept of politics and you know, and that type of thing in the workplace, you know, those conversations expose character.
Yes.
And the problem with that is that's the one thing you try to hide in the workplace is your character, because your motivations are the same. You know, so it
exposed everybody's character. It triggers on emotion.
That's right. And that's what I was about to say. That particular character, it contributes to that emotion.
Yeah,
that's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And it's funny that you say it, like, man, you know, and that's why I'm very, very careful, because at the end of the day, I pay attention to people at work. Yeah. You know, I see how they move. Yeah. You know what you can say in front of who, what you can talk about in front of who, and what not to say, and things of that nature. So I try not to, you know, divvy off into certain things.
Yeah, but I also want to make sure that sometimes people know what they can say around me.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
but that's up to you.
Yeah, you know, so
you live that in the bud.
Yes.
In the beginning.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You know, so respectfully.
Right.
But you know, see that, and that's what people don't realize too. You can be firm. Yeah. But have yourself in a certain manner, way, and get your point across, but they know you mean business.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's the iron fist and the velvet glove.
Yeah.
That's
So
exactly it.
And what I do, if they do bring it up, I challenge them. Not in an angry way.
right.
So sometimes they I can walk in a room, they may be talking about something, and they stop. That doesn't offend me. It just, if they keep going, and it's something that I disagree with or I think is, I challenge you. And I think some workplaces allow you to have adult conversations. It's just that things get out of hand.
Right. So let me ask you this, man. How many times do you ever sit back and just go back and reanalyze where the comments came from? And what I found is, when I sit back and when I have these conversations take off and they go left, I like to circle back at some point.
Yeah.
And I wanna understand where it came from, because a lot of times people say kick dog holler and all that, but at the end of the day, being able to know where these comments and these feelings come from, the faster you can recognize it, the better you are at controlling the room.
Right.
And that is one of the things that I've worked on, within my career. To people that want to go into my industry, analytics and those types of things. What I've always told people when they ask me for advice is, if you're into technology, you're going to be supporting something. Every major industry has a technology component. Don't think that you're going to go into this just knowing how to program or just knowing how to code. If I'm supporting doctors, I'm going to learn everything there is to know about what it is to be a doctor. If I'm supporting architects or construction folks, I'm going to learn what it is to do construction. Because that's the only way that I could be effective, in providing support to you, is to understand what you do.
Right.
And why you do it.
Right.
And so that has nothing to do with my ability to control a computer.
No.
That has everything to do with my ability to understand people.
Right.
And that's the key.
And that's key.
That is the key.
Exactly.
Everything that we do comes back to,
do
you understand people?
Yep.
It's crazy that you say that, because I think nowadays, dealing with emotions and dealing with different people is very, very, very important. And what I'm trying to say is, like, me and a friend of mine at work talk about it all the time, especially in leadership, management, supervision. We so much, I think when they do the hiring process, I think they do so much looking at so far as the knowledge, how much experience they have in that area, whatever particular area that they're growing in, opposed to looking at, okay, just looking at that person and seeing that they have the ability to learn, but more importantly, how they deal with different personalities and people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that makes a great leader more than anything.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
I mean, okay, yeah, you may have not been in this industry, but if you have, the ability to learn it,
The will to
to
learn.
learn it,
Yep.
that's cool.
Right.
But if you know how to deal with people and different people's emotions and different things, and know how to pull strings and trigger, like, you might have somebody that you can go straight up to, okay, and tell them, man, look, man, you got to get on the ball, man. You messing up. Yeah. Opposed to another person, man, I'm sorry you made that mistake, but you're going to get it right next time. You know what I'm saying? And I always compare that to me when I was playing ball as a point guard. I had to deal with different players in different ways to get the best out of them.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's right.
You can't always come down on every person hard.
Right.
Some of them you gotta encourage.
Right.
Some of them though, you get on them, that's gonna put that fire, and they go get it.
Right.
It just depends. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You know.
Sometimes you gotta do both.
Right.
You know.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it just depends. Like and like I said, that's knowing how that person is, how they are emotionally.
Yeah.
You don't want to trigger them off to where, hey, man, they just down because you don't want that.
Everybody hates messing up.
Right.
Who likes to,
Right.
nobody wants to make mistakes.
Right.
You know.
But I tell my leadership all the time, man, you come to me straight up.
Yeah, tell me straight
You
up.
don't need to. I'm gonna try to do it. You don't need to dress it up.
Yeah, tap me.
Hey, look, you know what I'm saying? Opposed to some people, you can't,
They're not approachable.
not as approachable. You gotta come with a little soft approach.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's knowing your people and knowing them emotionally, how they react to different things, different ways. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So and I think that's very, very important. Even in life, even with your kids.
Absolutely.
Every child is different. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
So I guess let's bring this back, full circle to, being a man, right? So, at what point, I guess, or what is the goal, of a man, in our environment? Is it to be that person that can command that room, or is it to be that person that can be in that room? Is it always, the goal to be the leader?
not necessarily so. My opinion. Sometimes you have to, take a back seat. It just depends. My opinion again. Because when you're in that room, and that goes again, depending upon who that room, and if you know these people and have egos. You know what I'm saying? So I'm great at that. I think that's one of my biggest attributes, positive attributes. Don't get me wrong, I have some negative ones too, but I know how to adapt to where I can see kind of like that. You want to be that guy or whatever, fall back. You know what I'm saying? Because bro, as men, we don't like to admit it, but man, a lot of us have egos, man. To where you know what I'm saying? Want to control the narrative,
We want to be the alpha male.
right. You know what I'm saying?
We want to be the alpha
But
male. Yeah.
I'm good at, especially if it's not at work, man. I don't mind falling back. I don't mind, cause man, I'm gonna tell you, man. At work, sometimes, man, they got these guys in this competition thing to top operator and all this and that. But man, hey, I can learn from anybody. Somebody just not coming in, Now, granted, we talking about ball. You know what I'm saying? That's a different animal. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard for me to but even with that now, as I've aged, can't do the certain things. I have a trust to put the ball back, the balls and all that stuff all around. You know what I'm saying? So, life experiences and time can change how you know what I'm saying, control the room, or if you need to be that person to fall back. It just depends, for me. And that's my opinion on it.
So when do you know when you won? Because that's really the question, right? A lot of times, as a man, you feel like you're not winning until you're all the way on top. And you feel like you have to keep pushing, you have to keep striving, but to one end, So I guess, my question is, as a man, when do you know you want?
Now, when you say like one, like in life overall,
Yeah.
I think myself personally, I want to feel like I make small accomplishments, but I think if I get to the point to where I feel like I won, I think growth stops, and I don't want to stop growing. Um, so I think that's a motivation factor for me. Is that okay? I may achieve small goals that I wanted to overcome, or so I think every part of life is about growing. And just to tap into the title of this topic, emotions. That's a part of growing. We hold in our emotions because at a point in time, as we are kids, we don't know how to control our emotions. And as an adult, I can reflect back on some things when I was a kid. We all grew up in a decent neighborhood, and we had an awesome childhood. And at one point in time, my parents got a divorce, and it made me. I didn't realize this till maybe a few years ago, but it made me feel like an outsider because everybody else's parents was together. So that caused me to have an emotion, which acting out, doing stupid stuff, hanging out with the wrong people, and it triggered something. It was a feeling of embarrassment, anger. It was just so many emotions that I noticed I had, and I didn't know how to control them. So I just did. It released itself in different ways, and I think that's just the way we all are life. So I don't know if it's a good thing to feel like you won. One is like, okay, I won, it's over, yes.
Right.
And I don't know if I ever want to feel like I won, but I always want to feel like I made small achievements.
That's a good point. Very good point. And like you said, I mean, being able to tap into your emotions and understand what they mean and why, as you grow, that's an achievement within itself. You know what I'm saying? Even telling your son, it's okay to cry.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's alright.
But you got to be in a place to do that, though.
And I ain't that. and I'm not on. It's like, bro, you know how we was raised.
Yeah.
You better not cry.
Really, you don't want to show.
You don't want to show.
I mean, you worry about what the other people saying and thinking, and man, look.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, man, and I spoke on this before. People, I'm talking about men and women, not boys and girls, men and women. They respect you more. I think whenever you're able to let out your emotions and how and still be a man.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
So that's the thing. It's like, how do we express our emotions? And it's almost like, okay, should we control our emotions or should we control? And like you said, in so many words, it's the way you express your emotions.
Right.
That's
right.
An iron fist with a velvet glove.
That's right. And so that's really the thing, man. We talk about expressing them. I'm gonna draw one. That's a little bit lighter. Happiness. Yeah. Happiness make you do dumb stuff, man. It make you do stupid stuff. When you happy, you're gonna go out. A lot of times, when I was younger, yeah, it was going out. You're gonna go blow money. You're gonna go get drunk. You're gonna go do whatever. I said, and now, you buy expensive cars. You do stuff like that when you happy.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the manifestation of that emotion, right? You know, and that particular emotion has to be put in check, just like these other ones. A lot of times we
You're making a great point with that.
a lot of times we sit there and we'll focus on the negative ones, or the ones we think are negative. But those other ones make you do stupid stuff just as well as anger.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so it how you manifest each one of those, I think is a key component to shaping a man. And look, I'm sitting here talking, and at the same time I think about my son, and how am I ever gonna try to convey this into his brain? It ain't it ain't gonna be easy. And
How old is he?
7. And look, man, and I think about it, like Boone was saying. I mean, our upbringing, has its effects. Me and my brothers, we talk, all the time about, the legacy of our dad. And one of the things that was hurtful for me, probably hurtful for all of us that played sports, was our dad didn't put a whole lot of value on that. We used to go, with your dad,
Right.
because our dad was gone wherever,
Right.
And so, I'll never forget. It's like, man, how many games did my dad come to? I'd probably count 2, 3, max, And it's like, man, that, I knew that it may have made a difference, but, but he never saw that, And the thing about it was, we were sitting around after he had passed away, and we were talking. It's like, man, I know I carried that, and it's one of those things. You carry it, you hold it, and you just feel like, man, that's mine,
Right.
And it just so happened I brought it up to Rocky, our older brother. He said, he laughed at me. He said, man, how many games you think he went to mine?
Right.
He said, man, you ain't the only one carrying that, So,
Right.
But it feels good to know that, like, okay, well,
I'm not in this boat by myself.
And so it's just like one of those things, like, well, man, nobody ever really told him
Right.
that, And so it's real interesting, how this thing can turn around.
Right.
We can sit here and talk about what, how we need to command these emotions, and how that makes us men. And at the same time, back when we were boys, we should have had the wherewithal to bring those things to the adults.
Right.
And we didn't have it.
I mean, but at the end of the day, man, your daddy was more of a people's person, though. I mean, I understand, like you said, that was one of his lacks, but as far as helping, oh man. And he used to always bring excitement to wherever you at, you laughing, Rob, you know what I'm saying?
But again, he was one of those people that could set the tone and command the room.
Right.
And
my dad is the same way, but just in different ways. Crazy. Silly.
And so it's just one of those things, man. And it's funny because I speak about this from having to study it, and do all of this, But you talk about our generations, our parents and their grandparents.
Right.
They didn't have any education in any of this.
And see, that's what we have to go back on to, and I think about the characteristics of our parents. And then you have, it goes deep, like you have to think about the characteristics of their parents. What they were shown, what they were taught. And sometimes it's no offense that they didn't do certain things that we thought they should have did, because maybe that's the way they grew up,
Right.
So sometimes we look at some of their faults, but maybe it goes deeper than what we think.
That's true.
And I think sometimes that as a black man in America, word I'm looking for. I think it's like ancestral inheritance, cultural inheritance of how, back on slave plantations, and I think about all the things that we inherited from that. I mean, I even think about whippings. Where we get this from? Why do we whoop our children and white people put their kids in time out? It's because they beat slaves. I mean,
something to think about.
So it's like,
look, man, and trust me, bro. We got beat. We got beat, man. But it's interesting, man, because again, a key concept around the conversation of whipping versus other forms of discipline, is I guess the criticism is that when you whip a child is because it's satisfying your emotional need, the parent's emotional need, more so than disciplining the child or teaching them anything. That's really the argument behind it, right? And the reason that I guess the proponents of it, or the people that say it worse, is it produces a respect level and a fear level that's necessary for a child, and so they're two very good points on opposite sides of the spectrum.
I think it's necessary for both, though.
And
talking to, and making you understand. Because I used to get that talk first.
Yeah.
It's coming. A lot of times when you ain't paying attention when they talk about you.
The hit don't come in the middle of the sentence.
But it's very important for both,
And my relationship with my son right now, I don't really have to touch him because he's gonna break down before I get to that point. Because he's upset that he's disappointed me. And it's not, but it's not to say that I raised him that way or I intentionally did that. It was just one of those things where I just always tried to talk to him, like an adult.
Right.
And for whatever that did to him, he never pushed me to that point. Now I'll say this though, it ain't like I ain't gonna stand over him with the belt.
Right.
Because I'm waiting on him to test the waters. Because we all gonna do it. I remember that time I did that with my dad. And you get grown, you feel your chest up, you about the same size.
Don't normally work out that well for you,
No, not at all.
Let me ask you something.
Old man straight.
Okay, on the product with kids. How do you feel afterwards?
Bad.
Right. So they had to feel bad after they whipped us, but I ain't see it.
You right, especially when they do it.
What do you want to ask Mr. Free that, man? And you feel bad after you whoop. Because I remember I done it, bro. I whooped my daughter and I went in the room and cried, man. It hurt. But they used to say, it's going to hurt me more than it hurt you.
Right.
So.
Absolutely, man. But I enjoyed this today. It's a great one, man. We got a lot out. I think we're going to stick on this topic and just kind of branch off for a little bit of emotions of a man. I appreciate y'all. My guy Derrick, Coco, by the name of Booney.
That's right.
My cousin Derrick, Jude Jackson. Call him the Wiz Kid. And I got one of my friends, man, by the name of he's from Lafayette, Louisiana. Mr. Joseph. We got a company called Certified Creole. Culture Creole Seasoning is the way of life for the people of Louisiana. When you want to show your love and appreciation for someone, you cook. Culture Creole seasoning is based on the unforgettable memories of a son and his father. As a child growing up in Lafayette, Louisiana, Jarvis' earliest memories were of him and his father spending time in the kitchen. Sundays were their day danced and listened to Zydeco tunes as they prepared Sunday dinner for the family. So y'all can support Certified Creole, man. Mr. Joseph is a great guy. He's trying to do some great things, man. He does a lot of cooking and look like he's doing well with his seasoning. So, good luck to him and y'all support it.
Man, bring that to the Central Parish, man.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
No doubt, man. But I want to thank y'all for watching, tuning in. Hit the subscribe button, hit the likes. Until next time, we'll get back with y'all.
I want to say something before you close.
Go ahead.
I want to have another dialogue, sometime in the future about what legacy do you want to leave behind?
No doubt.
What legacy?
That was a great one.
What do you want to be remembered by?
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, I like it.
But we're going to holler at y'all. And like I said, hit the likes, hit the subscribe button, leave your comments. And remember, on Mic'd Up, your opinion matters.
That's right.
Y'all have a blessed day.